Friday. Today is February 26th, and I hope everybody's having a good week. Today we're going to go over a new build that I'm working on, or actually old frame new build. Long story short, I did a frame for a client who was unable to commit with the purchase, so I kept it. Kept it for a future project. I didn't know what I was going to do with it until this group page started on social media, on Facebook, called HotRod Bicycles, which is formatted mainly around vintage bikes or vintage muscle bikes, rust, rat rods, patina, you name it. Pretty much everything other than shiny stretch, which is what I'm used to doing. The page is really good. It's something different, and they threw out this post that said Hot Rod Build Off, and virtually there's no rules. It could be something you're already working on. I don't have time to build a bike from scratch, but being already had the frame, I said, what the hell? Throw my name in the hat. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll show you some progress with it. Before we do, I did promise a few people that I was going to demonstrate how to install and calibrate the Nexus 3 hub, which we talked about in our last episode. So let's go ahead and get things started, hit the shop, and see what's happening with peak cycles. We have the wife's Electra Surf in the shop today, and that's because it's the only bike I have within reach with the Nexus 3. Let's go ahead and start by pulling this bell housing off and get things started. I'm going to start off by loosening this little Allen bolt here, which requires either a 10mm wrench or an Allen wrench, whichever you prefer. I'm going to go with the Allen wrench, and it should only require about a half turn. Just pop off just like that. I'm going to remove this bottom cover. Let's go ahead and grab a Phillips screwdriver. So this is what it looks like inside. Most of the time when you purchase a bike, this is already installed. When you purchase a wheel separately, sometimes it's assembled, other times it's not, hit and miss. So I'm going to go over it with you today on not only how to install, but how to calibrate the gears. A couple of very important things that need to be done before you get started is, one, to have your bike in second gear. And secondly, which is usually overlooked, is to have your front wheel facing forward. What happens is most people are calibrating their bikes on the ground, on the kickstand, with the wheel turned in its natural position, and what that does is it creates just enough pull or tension in the cable to throw off your calibration. So, second gear, wheel facing forward. First things first is obviously the cable runs through the cable housing here into the bell housing and under this little pinch bolt. All the nuts on this shift unit is 10mm. There's this one here, this one here, this one here. What I like to do is I like to back off this one and then loosen up this little tensioner to give us some wiggle room for fine tuning later. I'll show you that in just a minute. Cable runs inside under this pinch bolt. You'll tighten it down. Usually the cable's much longer than it needs to be. I'll cut it off, giving myself a little bit of leeway until we get it fine tuned, and then I cut it back. This here is the spring, usually not installed. Just simply slip it into the axle there. Slide your bell housing back up over the top and over the nut to where it's nice and flush like that, and you'll tighten this bolt. Let's go ahead and tighten it down, move the camera up over the top so you can get a better look at the calibration, and keep it moving. Here's a look over the top. And I don't have the bottom cover on yet because usually your cable is running long, so we get everything calibrated and fine-tuned. Cut the cable back and we install the cover after everything's completed. One thing I want to touch on before we move forward is this little Allen bolt right here. When we remove the bell housing, it took less than a half turn. When you install and tighten it down, it only takes about that much. And the reason I bring it up is because I've heard this so many times that you can over torque and strip out this bell housing. So, a little more than hand tight, and you are good to go. Moving on to the calibration, see this little tick mark right here? It should fall between the two lines if you are calibrated. Sometimes you get lucky, you throw the bell housing on, and you're right in there. Most of the time, not. So, back to this tensioner here, you're going to tighten this down until that tick mark falls between the two lines. This is about right there. Going to tighten this little nut all the way down. And again, going to go just a little more than hand tight. Let's go ahead and give the wheel a spin. If it looks good, put the bottom cover on. Keep it going. So there you have the installation and calibration of the Nexus 3. Pretty straightforward. A couple things I wanted to touch on is that small bolt I talked about that can strip out. Any of the bolts or hardware on that hub only need to be a little more than hand tight. Any of them will strip out if you over torque them. Secondly, I'm sure you noticed this up on the handlebars. I've talked about this tool in the past. It is made by Park Tool, and it is designed to hold the handlebars straight. What a great idea. I know most of you are watching have bikes that have heavy triple trees or Springer fork, and you all know how heavy that front end is, and you get that wheel flop and you put your bike up on the stand and your wheel goes bam right into the powder coat or paint. Pretty annoying. So with this, it's called a handlebar holder. You can get it directly from Park Tool for 20 bucks. 20 bucks. I'm sure you agree that $20 is well worth not damaging your paint or powder coat. Moving on to the HotRod build off, let me go ahead and show you the frame I'm using first. So that there is the frame. Again, I did this for a client. Didn't come through. I haven't really done any others. I've had people hit me up for that frame, and I've been so busy with current orders, I just haven't had a chance. So meanwhile, I'm going to build it up for myself and use it for this HotRod build off. You can see the wheelbase is shorter. It's not a stretch bike, also taller. And I'm thinking to myself, HotRod. I'm thinking tank plates with scallops would be pretty hot rod, right? So got to talking to my friend John over at Gearhead Customs, and he's all, maybe I can do something cool for you. And I was thinking to myself, he started bead rolling. What if he bead rolled scallops into the tank plates? Check this out. Yes. Let me go ahead and show you a few shots of how these plates look mocked up on the frame. Initially, I was going to paint the scallops in, but again, I got to talking to John and put the two together that he started bead rolling, and this is what we came up with. Also, since had the wheel hoops done, that frame is set up for 29 front and rear, so I'm going to go 29.3 front and rear. Had them powder coated, baby blue. I think you can tell where this is going. I also drilled out the holes for 8-gauge spokes. We're going to do some fat spokes. My good friend up in Los Angeles, Warren Wong, is going to build those wheels for me. And in the coming episodes, we're going to talk about mounting plates again. However, this time we're going to do something a little different. We're going to use these threaded spacers. Let me show you a close-up of that. There you go. I did do a separate little zoom in. For whatever reason, it didn't want to focus here in the office. Normally each year I do a new build and I debut and show it throughout the events, and due to the pandemic and cancellation of events, I've had to put them on the back burner. Actually, I have 2 new builds in the works, and as soon as things start to open up again, we'll bring them back out. Meanwhile, this is just a fun little quick build off, 2-month window, virtually no rules, online. Cutoff time is March 20th, so I do have my work cut out for me. Gonna video document everything, take you along with me. We'll do the plate mounting. I'm gonna paint the frame myself. And I have quite a few other things in mind for this build. Should be fun. That's pretty much gonna wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed today's version of what's happening in Peak Cycles. And until next time, make it a killer day. Normally each year I do a new build and I debut and show it throughout the events each year. I said each year twice. We will touch on mounting plates again. Only this time we're going to do something a little different and use what's called threaded spacers, which look like, can you see that? Where is it? Over here? Out of focus. Let's try that again. There we have a pretty good look at how the plates look on the front. Ow. Sharp. Video document everything. Do the plate mounting, take you along with me on that. And I do have quite a few other things in mind for this build, so it should be fun. That's pretty much gonna wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed today's version of what the